Good morning, everyone. So I'm gonna talk about a post here from the Recruiting Hell subreddit, and it's a short post, but mainly I wanted to just really talk about this topic and use this chance to talk about networking, referrals, nepotism, and I believe that it's a good subject to talk about, and it couldn't be any more relevant in today's job market world, right? This post again is from the Recruiting Hell subreddit. This subreddit is pretty rich in content for just crazy horror stories in the job search and outside of the job search too. So yeah, we'll get into it. So the subject line is people who I've known for 16 years were willing to ghost me. Okay, so I applied for a position where I knew the people working there. After the first interview, I waited to hear back. The person interviewing me, the hiring manager, knew me personally. The interview had a friendly and relaxed tone to it. Okay, so far so good. After a few weeks, I emailed HR asking for an update. I was told the process was ongoing and to wait. After a few more weeks, I called HR and was again told the process was ongoing. Sounds like if you're able to actually call HR, and it seems like, in today's world, like people don't really appreciate being called, especially the employers. They don't like candidates calling them to ask them about updates on their application. So I'm surprised that this is even a thing. I'm not criticizing the poster on doing that, but I'm be curious to see what kind of environment, what kind of job or career field that this would be like appropriate to do so. So after a month of not hearing back from them, that's a long time. Yeah. So it's hardly anything good ever happens after 3 weeks of not hearing back. Like it's the chances of anything positive coming out of that is just more slim the more time goes on. But yeah, so I knew I hadn't gotten the position, but decided to email the hiring manager to see what happened. That's cool with me. I mean, like, even if you know it's over, it's like you could ask and kind of just push more for more information, because like how else are you supposed to know if you did anything wrong or feedback? And I know feedback is very sensitive these days, but seems like this person knew who the hiring manager was. So this is why this whole topic is existing. We're talking about like nepotism here, and like actually knowing people that you who work for the company that you're applying to. And so yeah, we'll talk about that. After he sent that email, I received a 2-sentence email in return informing me that they went in a different direction and to apply again next year when they open up positions for new hires again. I will not be doing that. The recruitment process was brutally dehumanizing already. Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of these processes they're disrespectful, but I would use dehumanizing as an experience too, because as a word to describe it, because it makes the whole experience feel like you're not even a human, right? And then people might say like, oh yeah, well, that's how the job search is. They have to be like objective. They can't think about people's personal lives or emotions. Well, I'm not saying that, but like if you are hiring a human, so you should treat them as such, right? It doesn't matter what kind of environment that you're in. It's always still a good practice to but some people have worse human skills than others, and some people have terrible human skills, some people have good ones. So I knew most of the people working there, or at least thought I did. Yeah, they kept me in the dark for months while lying to my face. In addition, applying next year doesn't pay my bills, feed my son, or pay for the treatment for my disability this year. My wife and I are both out of work now. Whew, yeah. When two people are out of work in a household and then you have a kid, yeah, I'm really sorry. That sucks. This post was posted only like 24 days ago as of making this video. So I hope he's doing okay. So I am currently door dashing, which is the ideal use of my master's degree in engineering. He's obviously being sarcastic here. I feel hollow. Okay, so where can I even start? So I feel like this is an important topic to talk about, because I think that one of the most tone deaf advice that people give in the job search these days, and this is all over Reddit. I mean, you don't get any shortage of people on Reddit specifically, and as well as LinkedIn, but Reddit is more obviously a provocative and unfiltered. The most tone deaf advice that I always see is just like, oh, network, referrals, get references, like go to people It's all about who you know and not what you know, right? It's the classic saying. But I personally feel that advice is so many times it's coincidentally coming from people who have jobs already or already set in their careers, or they're just been employed for a while and they haven't experienced like layoffs in recent times, or maybe they have but then they just are a little bit tone deaf because they currently have a position and they're just telling people who are unemployed to say like, oh well, just network, you're not going to get applying to 1,000 jobs the same exact way is not going to get you anywhere if you don't get any responses, which I would agree with for the most part, right? But the advice of like just network, well, we have to kind of like break down what exactly that means, right? So I personally have dealt with this myself, where networking is like, you reach out to random people on LinkedIn, or you go to, let's say, like meetups in your current city, and that's assuming that you live in a well populated enough city to where they have these events in the first place. And then you're going to be talking to strangers, right? At least with meetups, you're at least talking to strangers in person. But these people who are soliciting this advice or giving this advice, they're saying that you should just reach out to random people on LinkedIn and then ask them to like try to help you get a job, whether that's recruiters or hiring managers or like whoever the position, someone who holds the position that you want. You should message them and ask them to refer you. Okay, well, like think about it. Like if you are somebody who's employed at a company and then somebody who you don't know messages you and asks you for a referral or advice on how to get a referral or advice on how to get into your current company, like how likely is it that you're going to respond, right? Why would complete strangers give you the time of day and help you get a job, right? So if you're somebody who doesn't really know people in a professional setting like that, it's going to be like very hard. So like just telling them to network is like, it's just really like, I get the advice because it's kind of like, oh, what else are you going to do? Just keep applying blindly? Well, no, like you have to do something else creative. But like the just network advice, just network. It's just tone deaf because you have no idea. It's kind of like people have no idea if that really works or not. If you're reaching out to strangers on LinkedIn and you're chit-chatting people who are strangers in meetups, right? It's not really going to go anywhere. I haven't personally seen that go anywhere. Like these people are strangers. They don't know you. So like, why would they help you, right? However, it's like, yes, and on the flip side, if you are somebody who knows people, then absolutely, I've seen that work tremendously for people that I know, ex-colleagues or just friends. They get jobs like 100% of the time. If they know somebody on the inside who is somewhat in charge of a hiring decision, most of the time it's like, oh, they are the hiring manager themselves. Then absolutely, yeah, they get jobs that way. More power to you, right? That's the nepotism. That's the nepotism dynamic, right? More power to you, right? But it's even in this case where this guy who wrote this post said that he knows the hiring manager personally, and then they still went with somebody else, which there could be many reasons for that. It might not have to do with him personally, but it just, the point being is that it just goes to show you, like, even if you do know people, like people you know for 10 years or 16 years in this guy's case, like they could still ignore you just because they don't care, or like there could be even a connection that's even closer to them, right? So even if like, oh yeah, you were an ex-colleague of theirs or an ex-classmate, but then they have like a nephew or a cousin that they would rather get into the job instead of you, right? That it's totally happened. So like, I know I sound so negative, but sometimes the answer is like there is no answer, right? Like, oh, if you can't get a response from an application by blindly applying, well then how else are you supposed to get a response, right? Are you supposed to network? Well, a lot of times that doesn't work either, right? It only works if you have like a family member. Like me personally, I've and I'm just gonna get into a personal story, right? So I've had a lot of jobs before, right? And I know that might sound like a bad thing, but I'm just saying that I've had plenty of part-time jobs when I was below the age of 20, and then a handful of career jobs since I was 18, right? I have not once gotten a job through a connection or a referral. Not once. Back in the day, in when I first started looking for my first job when I was 16. When I was 16, it was 2009, right? And I was working 2009, 2010, 2011, all those years part-time, retail or fast food jobs. In my case, I only worked in restaurant industry. I've never gotten a job because of somebody referring me or somebody I knew. It was always back in that day, I had to like physically show up to the place, hand in my resume, ask them the classic question of like, can I talk to the manager? Once the manager would come out, I would just straight up ask him or her to their face, are you guys hiring? Here's my resume. I have a lot to offer, blah, 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 blah. Like all the give them your pitch on why they should hire you, right? And 9 times out of 10, it wouldn't work. Either they weren't hiring or like, they knew somebody on the inside and they were hiring them instead, right? But then I got lucky 1 out of 10 times, and that's how I got jobs, right? And it's the same thing applied to professional career office jobs, right? I didn't necessarily go in person, but I've just always rapid applied as many jobs as I felt like I personally could do. And that's how I got those jobs, right? And then when I showed up to the interview, when I finally got a call back, it's a numbers game, right? I just took a chance. I got a call back, and then I would do my absolute best to convince that person to hire me, right? I've never once gotten a job through a person I knew or a referral, And I'm not saying that to like brag or like to sneeze on people who do get jobs that way. But I'm just saying that like if you are in that position like I was, I didn't know anybody. And quite frankly, I wasn't very social, right? I'm not gonna either be that person just kiss ass and be fake and be like, oh, can you get me a job, or to show that I'm only talking to somebody I know so that they could get me a job. I've even done that before, and I've reached out to people who I haven't talked to in like 3 years, right? People who I used to work with, even with just a message that says like, hey, I just want to see how you're doing. I was just thinking about you, right? That kind of human gesture. And I truly was like meaning that. And then they ignored me, right? Because you got to understand that sometimes these old friends or classmates of yours, they might actually think that you're only reaching out to them because you're trying to use them. And it makes sense somewhat, right? And they just are going to ignore you. So like even people you've known for like 16 years, like they'll ignore you because they see like, okay, you're just trying to use me to get you a job, right? You're not really, I haven't heard from you in 3 years. Like, why are you reaching out? So my point being for the video and this topic is that it's tough, right? It's really tough. I mean, if the whole numbers game strategy is not working out for you, I always err on that strategy though. Like, it's a numbers game, right? You do a lot of output. And I know that they say that, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is insane. But that doesn't always apply to everything, right? Like it's kind of like if you practice the piano and you do it the same way over and over and over again, you will get better at piano, right? You have to do the same thing over and over again, which is practice and practice, right? So that kind of that mentality doesn't always apply to everything. In this case, I confidently believe that if you, the world rewards people who don't give up, right? So even if you are doing the same thing over and over again, blindly applying and hoping and praying that, one day will be your day, right? I believe in that advice, and I'll still stand by that, especially if you are somebody who physically cannot do the networking or who thing, if you just simply don't know anybody, or if you don't know anybody in your circle who has that kind of power to get you that job, then it's kind of like, what are you supposed to do? So, yeah, to this poster, like it's just know that, you're not alone in this. Like I personally have been ignored by people who I knew, and I wasn't even reaching out to these people for a job. I was just reaching out to like reconnect, right? It's just weird. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this topic. There'll probably be a lot more other topics about this nepotism referral thing. It's again, I believe that if you could use that to your advantage, more power to you. But yeah, let's read a comment here. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but most people don't want to be working with their close friends, and this is a prime example. The expectations, just because you know several people there, especially the hiring manager, they probably didn't give you more than a 2-word response about the status because, let's face it, who wants to tell their friend they aren't the best choice for the position? Yeah, and that's like that's another thing, is like, if you aren't qualified, the whole friend thing, if you know somebody, that still won't do anything for you, right? On the flip side, it's so weird because, like, for some jobs that actually require experience or qualifications, just by knowing somebody on the inside, it just trumps all of that. You could just get in. So honestly, the whole point, I'll close out this video in saying that, like, there's nothing that makes sense anymore in this job market right now. Like, things that used to make sense back then when the job market was good, none of it makes sense anymore. So I wouldn't waste any more time trying to make sense of things that don't make sense. Right, there you go. Like, nothing makes sense anymore. So I would encourage that, keep at it and keep applying, and just don't give up, right? Overall, at the end of the day, the root is that the world rewards people who just don't give up. So don't give up. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.